All right, it's the playoffs. It's finally here. Vikings, Giants tomorrow at the bank, the Purple Palace. Nobody knows what to expect because this has been a season that no one can know what to expect from week to week. It's been just a weird but incredibly weird and incredibly fun and entertaining season. And I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen in this game tomorrow. I think the Vikings are going to win. I'm like my official pick is Vikings, yes, and not just for homerish reasons. I mean, I think they're the better team. Being at home helps, but I'm not going to be shocked if we lose. Like this could very well this could very well be a loss tomorrow, and I could see them losing. I could see them going to the Super Bowl. I really could. It's such a strange season. It would feel so unfair for if this season were to end in a one and done playoff loss at home to a 9-7-1 team that really isn't anything special. And I don't think the Giants are pushovers. The Giants are a solid team. I mean, they played just backups last week again in Philly, and we're still competitive in that game. So this is going to be a tough game, but you know, I don't see them losing this game. I just don't see it happening. Um, I think they're gonna pull this one out. Just as far as the going into the game stuff. The big news is Garrett Bradbury's back. He is back. He was a full go at practice by the end of the week. He's fully. He wasn't even on the injury report. He's fully ready to go. He is going to start. Like he's not even just they're going to be have him available. No, he's going to start. He's going to start. Uh, it sounds pretty certain that Oli Udoh will start at right tackle, although Blake Brandle's back as well. Um, who could have guessed 4 months ago that we'd be so so elated to have Garrett Bradbury and Blake Brandle back for a game? Um, we're pretty healthy. We're pretty healthy going into this game. Got Irv Smith back last week. Um, you know, the O'Neal thing is huge. Like when that happened, everybody knew that was a huge loss. But you know that might be a problem if we win. If we win, that might be a problem next week. As currently, as I'm doing this, the 49ers are already destroying Seattle. They're just obliterating them, and that's who we would play next week in San Francisco. I was hoping Seattle would win. I don't think that's going to happen. Who knows? Maybe by the time you know, this video's out there, maybe something will have changed, but I doubt it. So, but who cares about next week? We ain't into next week yet. We got to get this one. We got to get this Giants one, and we're healthy. I've still felt for weeks now, really like since the start of December till now, that we've kind of been playing a little bit of vanilla football at times because we pretty much were locked into what we were going to be by then. Like it was and barring something absolutely catastrophic, we were going to be a division champion and either a 2 seed or a 3 seed. Um, Now we could have been the team blowing up Seattle right now, but that's how it is for that. But we won't have a home game. But I feel like they've playing pretty vanilla football for a while. Does that mean they've just been playing vanilla football, or does that mean they're kind of like holding back stuff for the playoffs? Maybe they're gonna throw some new wrinkles at us, and it's gonna be stuff we haven't seen all year. KOC full year, full season with the team now, full season with this personnel. What has he got up his sleeve? I mean, he came from the Rams, and the Rams didn't go into the playoffs last year too impressively, but then they get in the playoffs, and boy, were they impressive. Um, you know, now they had a much better defense than we've got, and that'll be the other thing is the defense. You know, what are we going to get from this defense? There were some quotes this week from Ed Donatel saying like the players are like taking over the defense, and we're really going to like this. I don't know what that means. That could just that that could just be that could just be like empty you know empty quotes mean nothing, and I don't even know what that would mean. Like, what would that mean that the players are just taking over? Like, they're just going to ignore Donatel? I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that, considering a lot of what we've seen this year. Um, like, whatever this team can do in the playoffs, the defense has to contribute. They have to be. They can't just be, you know, you know, something in the background that maybe once in a while, maybe you get a goofy turnover, or maybe you luck out with like a couple of red zone stops. No, they need to be a thing that is playing 4 quarters of quality football. I don't care if you're playing the Giants, San Francisco, anybody. You have to have some defensive performance because we're trying to buck some huge trends here. Because defenses like the one we have, I don't know if we finished officially 32nd, but we're very low. Um, Defenses like that aren't meant for long playoff runs. They certainly don't win Super Bowls. So we would have to really buck a historical trend there. Um, they've got the personnel. I mean, I've felt it. A lot of other Vikings fans have felt it. Like all year, they're kind of being misused in a lot of ways, especially some of the pass rushers. You know, I think it was noted last week that with the guys we had, in the game, they were playing a lot of the 4-3 instead of the 3-4, which we've struggled with this year. Is the 3-4 a lot, adapting to that. And yeah, it was just the Bears, but I mean, it's maybe that clued Donatel into something. Just like, hey, maybe we've got personnel that we can do other things better than what my stubborn brain thinks that we should be doing. Because boy, if we can have a really good defensive performance, if we can have like a week 1 type of defensive performance, I mean, this team can go far. This team can really go far because I do believe in this offense. I think the offensive line, is the other big question mark. The offensive line is going to just have to hold up okay. They're not going to be unbelievable. Obviously, you watch some of this 49er game. Like, if that's who we were to, if we win, we're playing them next week, and that's going to be brutal. Figure it out, but Giants can rush the passer too, and they're going to try, and and they know that we've got a center coming back who hasn't played in a month or more than a month, I think, and they know that we have a right tackle who is a backup, and a right guard who's improved a little bit as his rookie year has gone on, but he's still not like a great player yet. They're coming. Like, they're going to be coming. They're going to be blitzing. They're going to be doing everything they can to fuck up Kirk, and that can happen to any quarterback. You pressure any quarterback, they're not going to be very good. And that's on KOC. That's on Wes Phillips to figure it out, because this is no secret to anybody. This is the weakness on our offense, and they're gonna be coming after us. We have to run the ball. We've had issues running the ball at times this year. Dalvin gets a lot of just worthless carries. He gets hit. I think I saw you. It's like might have been the league leader in rushing yards after contact. So he's always getting hit. He's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage a lot. They're not breaking open holes for him. They're going to need to do that. It's just basic. I mean, this is just basic football stuff. You gotta you run the ball to keep your defense off the field, control the clock, control the game. That's just stuff you have to do. Maybe we'll see a little more Madison. He was really good last week. I'm not worried at all about Kirk in a playoff game, and I know everyone's going to be like, "Oh, it's not a noon game." whatever Kirk does tomorrow has nothing to do with the time that the game starts. It's so stupid to be like, oh, it's a noon game. Well, he's had some bad noon games this year. So what's the rationale there? Um, so I think Kirk will play well. I think JG will play well. I think overall the offense will be pretty effective if the offensive line holds up. I mean that if we have just a horrible offensive line game like we saw against the 49ers in the playoffs 3 years ago, that's the end of your season. Um, unless the defense is really good. You know, I don't, because if you have to, man, if you got to score in the 30s every game in the playoffs to have a shot, that's just gonna be so hard. Um, this defense has got to be productive. They've got to be a help. Um, but I think they're going to get it done. I think being at home obviously makes a huge difference. First home game since uh, 5 years ago today. The Minneapolis Miracle game was 5 years ago. I cannot believe it's been 5 years already. Um, first home playoff game since then. Everyone's going to be fired up. What was it? Some guy for the Giants came out this week and said, "Oh, he was surprised how quiet U.S. Bank Stadium was when they played here on Christmas Eve." Um, you know, giving a bulletin board material to the fan base. That's a bit of a new one. Um, but people are going to be fired up. Um, it should make a difference, I think. Um, and we'll deal with. We win. We'll deal with next week. Um, most people aren't even picking the Vikings this week. I mean, we're only a 3-point favorite, which is basically just the home field thing. So it's basically a pick 'em game. No one's picking the Vikings to win. Most people are picking the Giants to win, even though I don't know what argument you could make. Everyone's been saying all year the Vikings are frauds. I don't know what the argument is that the Giants then aren't frauds. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But a lot of things surrounding this team and the coverage and the discourse around this team this year have made little sense to me. I'm worried. I'm like, they lose this game, it's going to hurt because it's a playoff loss. But this is a first year with a rookie head coach coming in with an underachieving team, and he's won 13 games in a division title. Like, this has been a huge win of a season because we got the coach who's going to be here a long time, and he's going to win big here. And I'm worried that if they do lose, close game, whatever kind of game, it's just going to be vitriol and hatred and anger from this fan base, and no one is going to be able to look at the bigger picture and see the the progress this team made in just the first year with this whole new front office, new coach. I'm worried about that because I get very pissed off and defensive about this stuff because I get mad at the modern football fan who doesn't understand context of things like this. Like, yeah, if we don't win the Super Bowl, that's going to suck. But that's not necessarily oh my God, everybody failed, fire everybody, get rid of all the players situation. So hopefully we win and we can avoid that at least for another week. Because this would, it would be obviously very disappointing to lose this game, but because I don't think this isn't like some years where you look at the teams that we have lost to in the playoffs, going back a bunch of years. Like, we haven't lost to anyone who's like some like playoff scrub team like this Seahawks team that's getting blown out by the 49ers already. We've lost to teams that have gone to the Super Bowl. We've lost to teams that have won the Super Bowl. We've lost to teams that just won the Super Bowl the year before, or recently. Um, um, you know, But anyway, I just really hope that we get the win just to avoid that, and because obviously we want to win, keep going. But to me, this season and my expectations for this season coming in, I had them at 11-6, getting a wild card. I didn't think Green Bay was going to slip as much as they did, so I didn't think necessarily the division was up for grabs, or it was like was a solid bet. Um, as the season was going on here, I thought, you know, there's something really magical about this football team. So, and it goes beyond football things. Like, I'm sorry, the games like Buffalo and Indianapolis, these things are not. You can't explain some of these things with just football. And you know, as this stuff was going on, I'm like, yeah, this isn't the best Vikings team that someone my age has ever seen. Not close. Like they're probably not even as good as 2017. Boy, I wish we had our 2017 defense coming into these playoffs, but we're not. We're probably not even as good as that team. Um, but if this franchise ever wins the Super Bowl, it's probably not going to be as simple as we've got the best team and we just roll through the playoffs. It's going to be something different. And then that O'Neal injury happens, and it takes the fucking wind out because you know that the offense has to carry this thing, and you lose a player like that going into the playoffs. You know, it called it a death blow. I hope it's not a death blow. I would be pretty surprised if the Vikings went to the Super Bowl. I would be pretty surprised if we win this week and then were to actually win in San Francisco, because Jesus, they're good. Um, you know, to me, this season, no matter what happens in this Giants game, is a win of a season, because we hit on the coach. You know. Oh, Seattle just scored. I heard. Okay. We still have hope, maybe, for a home playoff game. Um, but you know, I just hope fans are willing to accept that reality that this has been a win of a season. Not that we're playing with house money. Like a team like Seattle is playing with house money. Like no one expects anything from them this year. They're on the road. Like no one's expecting anything out of a team like that, or a team like Jacksonville or somebody like that. There's a little more of an expectation here because it's still a veteran team. This could be the last. I mean, hell, tomorrow could be the last game as a Viking for some of these guys, because I think there's going to be some big names leaving in the offseason. But you know, I think we've got the right people at the top of this franchise going forward. Like I think this season is the beginning of something. I don't think this isn't like 2009 where it's like you knew this was kind of it, or even 2017 where you knew it was just like this like improbable run and it wasn't going to necessarily be duplicated. Um, I feel like there's so many fans already writing off next year. Like, oh my god, they saw the schedule. Like, oh god, we're going to lose all our games next year, and oh, we're going to be terrible next year because Detroit went 9-8. Like, no, I think this team is built to be, and they have the leadership to be very good for a long time. Doesn't mean they're going to be 13 wins good. Like, you don't want to just forego a 13 win season and just be like, okay, well, we won 13 games, so nothing else matters. No, you want to take as much advantage as they can. They're not sitting over there at TCO today and just sitting around reminiscing about the season, being like, hey, well, we did great, so that's it. No, they don't. No, they want to win the fucking Super Bowl. You think some of these veteran players don't want to win a Super Bowl? Absolutely, they want to win a Super Bowl. They can do it. They have as much talent, maybe not as everyone in the NFC, but I mean they've got a lot of talent, and they can do this. It's gonna be tough. We haven't we haven't done it, and we haven't done it with teams that are better. I mean, that's the other thing I worry about is if they were to lose tomorrow, you're the only words you're ever going to hear use to describe the 2022 Vikings is frauds. That's the only word anyone's ever going to use. It's pretty much the only word anyone ever uses now, because this is the only team, for some reason, in the history of the National Football League who has ever been denigrated for winning close games. That's been considered a virtue for teams as long as there has been football. Yet somehow this team, they get put down constantly because they win close games. It's like it's a flaw. It's not. It's actually really good, and that's one of the things that could really help them in playoff games, because they get in these close games. It's not going to phase them, because they've done it. They've done it 11 times, 11-0 in one-score games, and I'm honestly expecting a 12th one-score game this week. I think it's going to be, it was 27-24 on Christmas Eve. It could be the same score. It really could be. I would be really shocked if it's any sort of a blowout. I have that like tiny 5% of my head. It's like, well, maybe the Vikings have been playing kind of vanilla football the last 6 weeks. Not that they've completely held stuff back, but maybe they haven't been playing their A game because they're kind of holding this stuff back for the playoffs, and now they're going to have their coming out party. It wouldn't be the first time that's ever happened for a team to kind of peak in the playoffs. I mean, hell, that's when you want to peak in the playoffs. I don't know what this team's peak was. I mean, on an individual game, I guess week 1, but if they somehow now play their best football for 4 games, they're hoisting a Lombardi trophy. But I hope, I shouldn't even have these fears of what's going to happen if the Vikings lose, because I do think they're going to win. I'm fairly confident on this that they're going to win, but it's going to be close because that's what they do. I guess we'll cross that bridge if it happens. If in say 28 hours or so, I'll be pretty depressed if the Vikings lose, and then we'll have to deal with the haters and the fans who want to lose because they want to be justified in calling their team frauds. I don't understand those people at all, but I think we're going to get this done. We'll deal with next week when it happens. That would be big to get. I mean, that would be enormous to know. This has never happened in the history of the Vikings. A rookie head coach coming in and winning a playoff game in his first year. That's never happened before. That would be huge for this franchise. Anytime you can get a home playoff win, that's good for me. Well, this ain't going to be as good of a game as Minneapolis Miracle game. I could say that right now. But and it's not going to be as cold as the Seahawks playoff game. I know that. Those are the 2 things I can say for absolute certainty about this game tomorrow. But I think I'm very cautiously optimistic. I think we're going to get it done. I think we're going to beat the Giants in something similar to 27-24 from the last time. Hopefully we don't need a 61-yard field goal again. Hopefully Greg Joseph makes all his fucking kicks. We cannot afford to have Greg Joseph pushing PATs wide in the playoffs. I think the offense will do well. Hopefully KOC is putting in some new wrinkles. Defense, they just need to compete. They need to contribute to this. They can't just be, we're going to give up 1,000,000 yards and then maybe once in a while stop them in the red zone. But I've talked way too long. This has been about as unfocused as I've ever been doing one of these videos. I mean, all the talking's over. It's time to go. It's time to fucking beat the Giants. Get this win. That's all that matters. So we'll have a whole off season for lamenting what went wrong if something does go wrong. But I think we're getting it done. 27-24 Vikings, and boy, next week will be tough. But who cares about next week? We ain't there yet. We got to get there. So, Giants, sorry, but we got to end your season.